The goblet squat is a great lower body movement that will develop your quads, your glutes, as well as your hamstrings. So here's a step-by-step guide on how to perform the goblet squat. First things first, let's talk about the actual setup. I'm using a plate. You guys can use a kettlebell or even a dumbbell or anything that has weight to it so that you can actually perform the goblet squat. Now, where you'll be holding it is roughly at shoulder height or even at chin height. Make sure that as you do this, you're keeping it at this position at the entire time. Now from here, I want you guys to find the stance width that you are comfortable with. Normally, people would prefer slightly wider than hip width, but of course, you can play around if you want a narrower or even a wider stance width. Now, from here, hold it upright like this. As you guys squat down, I want you to make sure that your hip will be lower than your knee. I do want to mention that this is the ideal. If you are only able to go halfway or 3/4 of the way, that's perfectly fine for now. But as you guys progress week by week, month by month, we'd want you to go as low as possible. Specifically, again, your hip should be ideally lower than your knee right there. And from here, go back up. Squat as low as you can, then go back up. The two common mistakes that I see when people try to do the goblet squat is that the first thing is that they accidentally allow their back to round like this. Because the weight is in front of them, there is a tendency that people might bow forward as they're squatting. To avoid this, make sure that you are very, very conscious with just squatting your hips down instead of you bowing forward. We don't want you to bow, we want you to squat. The second common mistake that I see is that people accidentally raise their toes or make their feet dance around while doing the squat. So from here, plant your toes, make sure that your feet are really, really firmly gripping the floor. Then from here, squat down, squat up. The more you grip the ground with your feet, the sturdier your squats will look like. And of course, that's just the basics of this movement. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to message me.